But first at 6, the NAACP, ACLU, several disability rights organizations, and multiple state leaders are all demanding action because of an ABC 15 investigation.
We exposed the video showing 2 Phoenix police officers immediately going after a deaf man with cerebral palsy, then repeatedly punching and tasering that man. Tonight, our investigation into this case continues.
You'll hear directly from the 2 main officers involved, but before we get to that, we again want to show body camera footage of this full incident, so consider this a warning. The video lasts about a minute. It is violent and it is difficult to watch.
Everybody stop where you're at. Have a seat. Taser, taser, taser. Get your hands behind your back. Get your hands behind your back. Hands behind your back. Get your hands behind your back. Hold them. Move, move. Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back. Ultra X-ray taser deploy more units. Hand behind your back. Hand behind your back. Get more. Hand behind your back. More. Hand behind your back. Hand behind your back. Hand behind your back. Now. Hand behind your back. Okay.
And that takes us to tonight's story. Phoenix says the arrest is now under internal investigation.
But that hasn't stopped those officers from going to court and making sure that man was officially charged with assault and resisting arrest. Here's ABC 15 Chief Investigator Dave Biscopy.
We were in court for what's called a preliminary hearing. Basically, that's a hearing to decide if there's enough evidence for charges to go forward. And that means the 2 main officers had to take the stand under oath.
Since that day.
This is Officer Benjamin Harris, and this is Officer Kyle Sue. They're in court to testify against Tyrone McAlpin. He's deaf, he has cerebral palsy, and he's here for a judge to decide if there's probable cause for his arrest on August 19th, 2024.
Have a seat.
So why did officers go after Tyrone? It's because a Circle K called about this guy. His name is Derek, and while Derek was being removed, he pointed at Tyrone walking across the street and claimed Tyrone had assaulted him.
And you didn't confirm Derek's story with any of the witnesses inside?
No. Why don't you wait here for it?
Derek's story would end up being false, but in that moment, the officers decided to take Derek's word at face value, leave him, and go after Tyrone.
We already established that when you pulled into the parking lot and yelled at Tyrone, he didn't respond to you, correct?
Correct.
Did you check to see if he had headphones in?
I didn't notice.
Okay. Did you check to see if there was a reason why he couldn't hear you?
No.
Did you try to wave him down?
No.
During your initial interaction with Tyrone, you wrote that Tyrone raised his hands. Can you describe what that looked like?
Yeah, he raised them in a manner that appeared to me he was going to use them to punch me.
So he raised his hands like this?
No.
Can you demonstrate again, please?
Yeah, he raised them in a manner that appeared to be ready to strike me. So what that communicated to me is I was about to get assaulted, not that someone was giving up.
Now, is it possible that Tyrone raised his hand to protect himself from your punches?
That's not what his body language communicated to me.
I'm asking you if it's possible. Are you saying it's not possible? Okay.
I don't know if it's possible. So just underneath my ring finger at that.
If you've noticed the cast on Officer Harris's hand, it's because he broke his finger arresting Tyrone. And at the end of his testimony, the prosecutor asked Officer Harris how all of this could have been avoided.
The defendant had just put his hands down or said, I can't hear, or I need to write, or something like that. What would you have done?
I would have had him sit down, made motions with my hands to have him sit down, and then I would have gotten a pen.
You wouldn't have
paper and pen out for him.
You wouldn't have punched him in the head and knocked him to the ground and tasered him?
No.
Now, let's get to the testimony from Officer Sue.
As I was going to pull in the park, I looked over and observed the defendant actively swing at Officer Harris, and then I as I was putting my car in a park, and I jumped out and ran over there.
Sue's body camera fell off, but during the arrest, he testified that Tyrone bit his hand.
Can you hold up your hand high so we can see, show the judge exactly, point where it was that he bit you?
Right there.
Okay.
There's no body camera footage that shows the bite. And here's what happened when Tyrone's attorneys asked the officer to go through the video.
Anywhere in there?
Nope.
And stop at the moment when he says Tyrone bit him.
Right there.
The moment Officer Sue pinpointed is when the other officer's camera pans up and you can't see Tyrone. The defense asked Sue if it was possible that he cut or scraped his hand on Tyrone's mouth or the ground while choking him. But Officer Sue said no and denied using a chokehold.
Is that your arm there, directly around his throat?
The one on the bottom?
Yes.
That's my arm.
Okay. And that is around Tyrone's throat, correct?
Looks too hard to tell.
So how is this not a chokehold?
When I think of a chokehold, I think of two arms from the same person.
In a bizarre moment, the prosecution then got back up to prove Tyrone bit the officer, first showing pictures, then asking for a demonstration.
Would you open up your mouth and stick your wrist in your mouth?
Say again?
Could you open your mouth and stick your wrist in your mouth? And then pull it out to the side? Did you just cut your arm?
Objection, Your Honor. This is extremely speculative and really doesn't.
Overruled. I just watched him do it. That's not speculation. He's demonstrating.
Officer, did you just cut your arm when you did that?
I did not.
At this time, I do believe the state has presented sufficient evidence to establish.
In the end, the judge found there was probable cause for the criminal case to move forward against Tyrone. The judge didn't give an explanation, but the ruling means Tyrone still faces felony charges of aggravated assault and resisting arrest.
Mr. McAlpin, this will conclude today's hearing. I'll have you stepped over to my bailiff just to sign for those release conditions, but good luck to you moving forward in your case.
Again, Phoenix is not commenting on the arrest because they say it's under investigation. But this case is a sensitive one. We've learned the DOJ is now aware of the case. And it's important to remember that the arrest happened after the DOJ released its historic investigation into Phoenix PD. And the feds say they want to put the department under federal oversight. I'm investigator Dave Biskobing, ABC 15, Arizona.
Dave's investigation will continue next week. We're going to have reaction from and demands from the NAACP, ACLU, and leading disability rights organizations.
If you would like to catch up on our coverage, we've got Dave's first report, body camera video, surveillance footage, police reports, and the courtroom testimony. It is all at the top of abc15.com/investigators.